Good evening, everybody. Thanks for bearing with us as we're going to get started. This is the February 25th, 2006 public hearing of the City of Evanston's Land Use Commission. The zoning ordinance directs this body to hear applications for map and text amendments, special uses, major variations, plan developments, appeals of the zoning administrator's decisions, as well as to make recommendations regarding the city's long-term planning goals and objectives. Depending on the type of matter, this commission will either be the determining body or make a recommendation for City Council. Ms. Jones, please call the roll.
Commissioner Arevalo.
Here.
Commissioner Berlin.
Here.
See. Yeah, I'll.
There's also a mic, maybe to mute on your laptop.
Yeah.
Bear with us.
All right, trying this again. Are we good? Okay. Okay. Are we good? Yeah, I'm muted.
You're muted on there.
Yeah, I'm muted on my laptop. I'm muted in the Zoom. Yeah, everything's muted.
Usually we unmute.
Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing it. So I think we're good. Okay. All right, let's try this again. All right, Commissioner Arevalo,
Here.
Commissioner Berlin,
Here.
Harris Ferry,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Rabadi, Commissioner Mangum,
Here.
Commissioner Mudenchev,
Here.
Commissioner Linwall,
Here.
and Chair Puchtel.
Here. Okay, that's 8 present and 1 absent. We do have quorum. Excellent. Also present tonight from city staff are neighborhood and land use planner Megan Jones, development services supervisor Jeremiah Bebo, senior planner Sam Hubbard, and assistant city attorney Brian George. This is a formal hearing, and there are rules that govern these proceedings. Anyone who wishes to address the commission on any matter on the agenda tonight will have an opportunity to do so at the appropriate time. For cases, our procedure is to hear from staff on the documents on file, then receive testimony and other evidence from the applicant or appellant. Then, people wishing to provide a statement on the matter will have the opportunity to do so. Any person with a legal interest within the defined notification requirements of the subject property may present evidence, submit questions for the applicant or appellant, or seek a continuance of the hearing. Please be sure to sign in on the public comment sheet. This was out front. If people missed the opportunity, just let us know. If there are many people signed up to speak, commission rules allow the chair to limit the amount of time for each person's testimony. We have a mild amount of people signing up, so tonight we'll grant 3 minutes per person for testimony. When testifying, please state your name and address for the record. All testimony is taken under oath. Although we do not follow strict rules of evidence, please limit your testimony to the proposal as it relates to the standards within the zoning ordinance and staff memorandum. These meetings are audio and video recorded, so it is critical that only one person speaks at a time and that the speaker is at a microphone so that all testimony provided is properly recorded. We expect a high level of decorum to be maintained during these meetings, which includes preserving the right of every person speaking tonight to do so without interruption. Accordingly, reactions from the room, such as cheering or booing during or after testimony, are not allowed. Those unable to maintain decorum will be asked to leave. All testimony from presenters and members of the public, including specific questions for the applicant or appellant, shall be directed to the commission, and commissioners may ask questions at any time. When all testimony and statements have been heard, the applicant will be given the opportunity for rebuttal or a closing statement. Then the commission will close the record and begin deliberations to consider the standards. The commission will make formal findings of fact based on the testimony and evidence presented, guided by the standards, the commission's knowledge of the community, and the recommendations of staff. All proceedings are subject to broadcast at a later date. Any matter not concluded at tonight's hearing will be continued to our next regularly scheduled meeting or to a date certain. There are 2 items on the agenda this evening. Can I please check that the applicants for each case are present? Applicants for 2500 Marcy Avenue? Thank you. And the applicant for 1103, 1105 Emerson Street? Thank you. Oath. I will now conduct the oath statements for both in-person and virtual attendees. If you plan to provide testimony in any of the cases scheduled for tonight, please raise your right hand and say yes if you agree with this statement. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you will provide in connection with this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. Okay. The first item of business is a review and approval of minutes. However, tonight there are no minutes on the agenda. I was right there, don't worry. And so we're going to skip that portion. And we will now move to the first case on the agenda, which is 2500 Marcy Avenue. Is this Jeremiah? Yeah. Can you please read the case into the record?
All right. Thank you, Chair. So we have Sujal and Elizabeth Patel here as both the applicant and the property owner requesting major variations from the zoning ordinance to convert an existing attached garage into habitable space, alter an existing driveway leading to the attached garage, and construct a 2-story addition in an existing single-family residence in the R1 residential district. The applicant is seeking a variation from section 6-4-1-9, requesting a front yard setback of 39.9 feet, where a 41.1 foot setback is the minimum required. And a second variation from section 6-4-6-3, table 4-A, requesting to alter the existing driveway. The resulting driveway will not lead to a garage or a carport or an open parking pad located within 30 feet of the rear property line as the code requires. Staff is supportive of the setback variation. Staff is not supportive of the driveway variation. The Land Use Commission tonight will be the determining body for this case in accordance with the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Okay, can the applicant please come up to the lectern and please state your name and address for the record and present your proposal.
Sure. My name is Elizabeth Patel, and my address is 2500 Marcy Avenue. This is my husband, Sujal Patel. His address is also 2500 Marcy Avenue. And then, Jeremiah, I'm sorry, where is this what I'm using to move the slides? That's okay. All the things. And just really quick. Sorry, just wanted to make sure I had the technical situation correct. Thank you for having us here tonight to discuss our petition for maintaining the circular portion of our existing driveway and the existing setback. Sujal and I love living in Evanston. I work in the community as a physical therapist, and our 3 kids are very active in various sports and park district activities. Sujal and I have volunteered many hours as coaches, team parents, and have been involved with Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts. While we are very busy with our kids, like many Evanston families, and maybe even some of you, we have now reached a stage where we have some aging parents who require more assistance from us. And that's really been the major impetus for this project. This evening, we'd like to share the broader vision of our project, explain why these requests are important to our family, and hopefully we can work together to find a solution that's mutually beneficial for us and the community. This is a picture of our home. It was built in 1938. What you can't see in this picture is that we do not have an existing first floor bedroom or full bathroom. So in other words, there's nowhere to shower on the first floor. You can see that we do have an attached garage. Unfortunately for us, this garage does not house a modern family car. So what we are proposing is to convert this garage, in addition with a small bump to the north, into a first floor bedroom and bathroom. We would then like to build a detached garage in the backyard, and then we'd like to retain just that circular portion of our driveway so that we can maintain really easy accessibility to the front door. This will ensure safe drop-off and pickup for our parents. We did explore other options. We considered installing a chairlift in our home. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with what those are, but it's basically a motorized chair that you can affix to a wall and it can go up and down the stairs. The site limitation that we have is that it's 12 stairs straight up and then a near 90-degree turn, and then you have to go 3 more stairs. So those chairlifts don't accommodate that tight turn, so that really wasn't an option for us. And quite honestly, it still leaves us with a garage that we can't use. The other thing that we looked at was expanding our house to the west, so that would be into the backyard. With that option, it would have been basically like a complete redesign of our first floor, and we would have also needed to move water lines and gas lines. And again, we would still be left with a garage that we can't use. So really, we really do feel like this is the best plan to help meet the needs of our family, and it helps to support our parents who have mobility limitations. My mom uses a walker, and she has severe respiratory problems, often limiting her ability to walk even short distances. And my dad has neuropathy. For those of you who are not familiar with that is, it's basically diminished sensation in the feet. So he has a really hard time figuring out where his feet are in space. So this puts him at a significant risk for falls. What this option allows us to do is to have a first floor bedroom, alleviating that need to climb those 15 stairs. It also allows us easy access to the front entrance of our home, which is a priority due to these mobility limitations. We also feel this plan allows Sujal and I the opportunity to age in place, which I'm not really sure was a conversation until we started having this conversation with our parents. This is a targeted and narrowly scoped request, limited to what is necessary. We are seeking simply to maintain the existing setback and preserve front door accessibility by retaining the circular portion of our existing driveway. Our understanding is that the ordinance is meant to keep the neighborhood consistent by maintaining a consistent street line, protecting air and light, as well as preserving neighborhood character. Our request arises from how those standards apply to our existing property conditions. We are maintaining the street line, we are not pushing our structure forward, and this plan also preserves the same rhythm of how the homes on this block have worked for decades. We have identified a few practical difficulties. With regards to our setback, the house was constructed in 1938 and maintains that original footprint. Denial of our request would create an awkward and disproportional architectural condition relative to the existing structure. For the driveway, the practical difficulty relates to an accessible front door entry, particularly with our parents, neighbors, and friends who have mobility limitations. The existing circular drop-off provides direct and functional front door access that cannot be replicated elsewhere on the property. Our front yard is deeper than the average for Evanston, making the walking distance from the street to our front door over 60 feet. From the proposed garage, so the one that we're proposing to build in the backyard, traveling along the north side of our house is 132 feet. By contrast, the distance from the circular drop-off to the front door is just 12 feet. We do recognize that expense alone does not create a hardship. The practical difficulty here is functional. Due to the depth and configuration of our lot, removing this long-standing circular driveway would significantly, limit the front door access without furthering the ordinance purpose. Really, retention is the minimal necessary adjustment. Loss of functional front door access would also compromise the ability for Sujal and I to age safely in place independently. Did I do the slide move? Sorry. There we go. Okay. Our application is carefully confined to the minimum necessary deviation to address these two difficulties or hardships, which are maintaining the existing setback and ensuring safe, functional access to our front door by preserving the circular portion of our driveway. We are requesting these variances because of how the code applies. We're not trying to work around it. We're hoping that we can find a solution that meets both the needs of us and our family and complies with the city standards. Approval of our variance will not alter the character of the neighborhood. There's no change to the setback or the architectural style of the front of the house. The existing circular driveway has been part of the streetscape for decades, and there are similar parking pads and conditions that exist on Marcy Avenue, which is the street that we live on, in addition to the surrounding streets. And we went ahead and included some pictures. These are some pictures of some of the houses that are on our block. As you can see, this is really a characteristic of the neighborhood. Beyond providing safe and easy access, the circular driveway really does support this aging in place and multi-generational living, which is what we are trying to achieve by preserving front door accessibility. It also enables everyday participation at front of the house things like waving hello to a neighbor, greeting a neighbor who's waving a dog, participating in neighborhood gatherings. We have a lot of those impromptu on our street, as well as participating in children's play, whether that is as a participant or as a spectator. And we feel that this really helps to strengthen the connections with our neighbors, and also that's what makes our neighborhood so special. We've had overwhelming support from our neighbors. We've had a bunch of letters of support that I think you guys might have seen in the packets, as well as several neighbors who are here to talk tonight in support of us. We are simply asking tonight to preserve key existing features of our home that support safety and continuity of our community. This is not an expansion, and we respectfully ask for approval of both petitions. And then I just put some of the letters in the appendix. But I don't know if you guys need to see those or not. They're in your packet. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
Not of the applicant, but I have questions later for staff, but I think we can.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Thank you very much. Questions for staff?
Yeah. I think that, in Evanston, we have a lot of situations, where there were driveways and access that don't lead to garages, and they've been there for decades. So what do you propose if we accept staff's recommendation and deny the garage or the driveway variation? What would happen then? What would staff's position be as to what happens?
Yeah, the staff's position would be that that area then needs to be turned into pervious surface area, and then they would need to work with through the permitting process with Public Works to to essentially remove the curb cuts onto both street.
And those curb cuts right now are in public parkway, right?
Correct.
So they are really technically city property.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for staff?
Yeah, can I ask staff, please, to explain to all of us, the existing driveway is non-conforming. Can you detail in what ways is it non-conforming?
So it's non-conforming, non-conforming to a couple of ways. So it's non-conforming because the house was constructed with an attached garage and having a driveway essentially leading to that attached garage off of a street rather than an alley, since they have alley access. And then the circular driveway is non-conforming as well too, in that it provides essentially open parking spaces in the front yard, even though they have access to an alley, and obviously constructed before the adoption of this code.
And do we have a third facet of the non-conforming character, that there's 2 curb cuts for the driveway? Because it's a half circle driveway, so it's
correct. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know if there's a direct restriction to that. My guess is yes, but without diving into the code, I don't have 100% a surety on that piece.
okay.
Okay.
The driveways in Evanston, just to put it very simply, must connect to garages, right?
Correct.
And garages should be in alleys, except when there's no alley access.
Correct.
And this is for pedestrian safety, so we don't have driveways going across sidewalks, and we don't have excessive curb cuts on streets.
Correct. And reduces other potential safety impacts to pedestrians, but then also it reduces the chances of like someone backing out of a driveway onto a busier street. But yeah, it's a public safety issue.
Right, and this city was built with an urban layout to have alleys, and cars, trash pickup, utilities go in alleys. There are many suburbs that are built in the United States, primarily after Evanston was developed, that do all that stuff in the front of the house. But Evanston is an alley type of town.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a lot of new urbanist types of developments too that are kind of trying to now go back to essentially what Evanston was doing in terms of alley access and things like that.
Okay, and just one more question. This, right now, there's no garage in the back that faces the alley, but as part of this project, they're putting in a 2-car. They propose to put in a 2-car garage that attaches to the alley, and it looked to me like that new 2-car garage was completely in compliance with our zoning ordinance. Is that?
That's correct. Yep. And even if they weren't building that garage, say they were just converting the attached garage into living space, they would still need to come before this board to get approval to let the driveway remain, or even a portion of the driveway in the front yard remain as existing.
Okay, thanks.
I also have a question, Jeremiah. So is and again, focused on staff's not wanting to allow the circular driveway to stay. Is there a concern around anything else we're not aware of? Like, for example, the thing I'm thinking about is like permeable surface. Like by adding this additional garage, do you feel like now too much of the lot is impervious? Is there anything like that we need to be thinking about?
No, it's still in compliance with impervious surface coverage maximums and building lot coverage maximums.
Okay, so then the recommendation by city not to approve the second piece is because if you live on an alley, because of everything that we just heard, right? A driveway should go to a garage should go to an alley if you have an alley.
Yeah, and from staff's perspective too, I mean, we really do our best to well, we have to technically hold it to the letter of the law. And so when you're making improvements to a property, regardless if it's of like a single family property or a commercial property, our job is to administer the code and bring it into conformance to the highest degree possible. And that's essentially the result of part of our analysis.
Okay. Are there other examples that you know of where there are circular front yard driveways? I mean, I've got one on my block, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, they're all over Evanston, and it was certainly a more common characteristic before this code's adoption. So this is something that we run into. Probably not super commonly, but more commonly than many other things.
So in essence, it's a question of, do you allow to keep a non-conforming circular drive, or do you insist, so that the applicant remove it?
Exactly. Yep.
Thank you.
Because by moving the garage to the back, they've essentially lost code justification for the driveway in the front.
Exactly. Yeah.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay. We'll move to the next phase, which is public testimony. So I have a list here. Let's see. Marcy. Is that right? Only one? And then maybe these are all. Yeah. All right. Let's start with Matthew Schroeder.
Just bringing up an image for you guys.
If you could state your name and address for the record.
Yep, my name's Matthew Schroeder, and I live at 2400 Marcy, just a block away from the Patels. I grew up in Evanston on Lawndale. That driveway has been there since I can remember playing basketball on the driveway as a kid. The Patels have been great neighbors, and I can tell you, the point I want to bring up to you guys is, you've just approved a variance identically to what the Patels are asking for on 2912 Lincoln Street. There's a circular driveway that's been there, again, for decades. That driveway never led to a garage, and the homeowners just bought it maybe 8 months ago, so I don't know when the code was adopted, but approximately 8 months ago. And they did a full renovation, permitted, and then they were able to keep that same circular driveway with 2 curb cuts. And I mean, it seems identical to me. I can show you guys an image of it if you'd like. It's Google Maps, so it's either 2910 Lincoln Street or 2912 Lincoln Street. But yeah. I mean, I think the Patels are going to eliminate the portion, or they're proposing to eliminate the portion directly to the what would formerly be the garage. So it makes sense for me to not tax them, basically, to eliminate the entire garage and put new sod in, and have to change the entire area in the front.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, I have Allison Powers.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Allison Powers, and I live at 3040 Harrison Street. That home is directly across from and to the south of the Patel residence. Our home is within the notice radius, and from my property, I see the Patels' entire backyard and portions of the site on a daily basis. I'm here in support of their application. My family and the Patels moved into our homes within months of each other in 2013, and our children have grown up together. I mention that only to underscore that I have a long-term lived understanding of the property and the block. From my perspective as a directly affected neighbor, the proposed renovations do not create any adverse impacts on our use or enjoyment of our home or on surrounding properties. The scale and massing remain consistent with the existing residence, and the detached garage will sit in the rear of the lot where similar structures already exist in the neighborhood. With respect to the driveway, I understand staff's concerns generally about front yard parking and sidewalk crossings. In this case, however, the circular driveway and curb cuts are longstanding and, as has been acknowledged by staff, actually predate the adoption of whatever ordinance mandates these changes now. They are therefore legal and integral features of the property, as Mr. Schroeder just testified. The request does not introduce new curb cuts. I don't believe we've heard any evidence suggesting that new curb cuts would be introduced. It does not expand the paved area. I don't believe there's been any evidence that it would. And I don't believe I've heard from staff any data regarding continuing this driveway as intensifying vehicular use across sidewalks. It preserves an existing and, in fact, perhaps slightly unique architectural feature, and site condition that has functioned safely, as far as we've heard, for decades, and contributes to the character of a corner lot. More broadly, I believe it is a positive outcome for the neighborhood when long-term homeowners choose to renovate thoughtfully and remain in place rather than pursue more disruptive redevelopment or relocation. And I say that as a neighbor that also has a single-car garage that does not fit an SUV or other modern family vehicle. Reasonable flexibility in cases involving older homes with legacy site conditions encourage that kind of reinvestment and benefits the block and city as a whole. From my standpoint as a neighbor who will continue to live with the outcome of this decision, I support the requested variations and respectfully encourage the commission to approve the application. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you. I have one person signed up to speak, but it's not clear to me which case it is. Kehinde Nigwa? If I pronounced that right.
I also was not, I didn't get a chance to sign up and want.
Okay, come on up. Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Elizabeth Domenico, and I live at 2514 Marcy Avenue. I live one house away from Elizabeth and Sujal Patel, who are seeking approval to maintain their existing setback and their existing driveway. I'm here to voice my full support for maintaining both elements as they currently are today. The driveway is causing no visual harm or practical harm. In fact, it's a wonderful gathering place and a safe place for the children to play. With both elements already in place, it would seem that changing them causes more disruption than leaving them. If the concern is a driveway to nowhere, the fight is already lost. There are front entrance driveways to nowhere all over the neighborhood. In fact, there are at least 3 on our 1-block stretch of Marcy. My mom has one with a basketball goal 2 blocks over on Lawndale. There's a circle drive where Lincoln meets Lincolnwood. There's another circle drive to nowhere a few houses down on Lincoln. They're everywhere, and Evanston has long been a front yard type of community. People have patios, they have furniture, they have fire pits in their front yard. They have sports equipment, they have lacrosse nets, they have basketball hoops, they have political statements in their front yard. They have mini libraries, they have bee and butterfly sanctuaries. The front lawns are allowed to look however they want. These are not a blight on the neighborhood. They're not an error to be corrected. They're an important and unique part of what makes Evanston a true community and not just a town. These are the reasons why I advocate for keeping the driveway and not disrupting the building setback. That said, I understand that the Patels have their own much more important reason, and that's for accessibility. And for this reason, we make all manner of accommodations in public life, as well we should, and certainly on private property, owners should be able to do what they must to make their homes safe and accessible. The Patels have the full support of the crew at 2514 Marcy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else in person? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is William McGahey. I'm here with my spouse, Pamela. I reside at 2448 Marcy. We are directly across Harrison Street to the south of the Patel's home and directly next door to the Powers. You heard from Allison Powers, my next door neighbor, briefly this evening. In brief, my spouse and I want to fully endorse the Patel proposal for the variations that they've requested in all details, with no reservations whatsoever. We feel that the improvements that will be made will enhance the neighborhood and strengthen the community and bring us closer together. I have nothing to add beyond the testimony you've already heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in person that wishes to testify on this case? Yes, come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Priscilla Giles, Fifth Ward. I spoke on the same case some time ago, and I think maybe you thought either I died or maybe I'd forgotten. But that is in the same block as the oldest black church in Evanston. That's a community that is being almost destroyed now. And I think it's a shame to put something that large, that close to a church. I think that's what you were talking about. You said the Patels, and that was the name that was listed on the paper.
I think you're...
Not the same Patels?
We're going to talk about 1103 Emerson in the next case.
That's okay.
I'll remember you. Yes. Okay, anybody else to speak on 2400, excuse me, 2500 Marcy in person? Anybody online? Okay. With that, I will close the record for testimony. And does the applicant or staff have any closing remarks to make? You're welcome to if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay. Okay, great. In that case, I will now close the record and we'll move to commission deliberations. Commissioners, thoughts on the proposal? Commissioner Lindwall.
I am in support of both, granting both variations. I think that, the basic setback for an R1 zoning district is 27 feet, I believe, and I understand that the setbacks on this particular block are much deeper than that. So, I see no issue with the setback for the building. With respect to the driveway, I think that it's a long-standing circular driveway. I think it obviously makes a lot of sense to remove the portion of pavement leading to what is now a garage and retaining the circular drive. As is noted, there are many circular drives in both the neighborhood and throughout Evanston. And I think that really, I don't see, I think there's kind of a hardship that would be in requiring the property owner to, remove the existing pavement. That, I don't see the necessity of doing that. I agree that in general, front yard, driveways and curb cuts in the front are not what we want to be seeing in Evanston, but in certain neighborhoods, they certainly are long-standing features. There's one, I've got the property on my block, it's got a circular driveway that actually, was installed, I think after this code was adopted. So those approvals do happen on occasion, rarely, but they do happen, and I'm supportive of both variation requests.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
I'm in support of the setback variation. That one's, we're talking about less than a foot. And that is, in my mind, it does meet the spirit of the zoning ordinance, and it does, following that to the letter of the law, it does create a significant hardship. I'm not in support of the driveway. If it wasn't apparent by my line of questioning before, the existing driveway is already non-conforming. Their project proposes to make it even more non-conforming by disconnecting it from an active garage. This double lot has plenty of space to put conforming or a properly sited garage, a modern garage that will hold 2 modern cars, to be accessed by the alley, like is required throughout Evanston. And if the driveway is disconnected from the garage, we're kind of making something that is out of bounds in Evanston even more out of bounds. One other thing that I'll add to this is that I would caution everyone to be consistent in our review for variances for this type of thing, because it wasn't but a month ago or a month and a half ago, it was 2737 Highland Avenue that wanted to do almost exactly this same thing. Now, the difference is they did it without permission. And all of us sat up here and told them, well, you really shouldn't be putting a driveway in your front yard because that's not what's allowed in this municipality. And they came back and said, well, we would really, really prefer to have this driveway go in the front yard and go right up to the house. And we countered as a group by saying, well, A, that's not really allowed. And also, don't you have plenty of room to put a alternate site for parking, particular to your property? And they did have alley access at 2737 Highland Avenue. They do have on-street parking at Highland Avenue. And so we all ruled that they were asking for a mere convenience, and we voted that one down. So reading through this project, it was analogous to that project in many ways, as I read through it. And I, in short, agree with staff's recommendations and their assessment of the fact that the driveway portion of this just doesn't meet our standards.
Thank you. Commissioner Miranchov?
Thank you. So I will talk only about the driveway. The other things I agree. For the driveway, I am kind of internally divided, yes or no. I will say because it is existing for so many years, and because it is, I believe, architectural feature, I am a kind of a proponent of architectural features. I would agree with keeping it. One small note to the owners: remove all the steps from your architectural project. You still have steps in the front and steps in the back. If this is for accessibility, just remove them. You can do that. Don't miss that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioners?
Yeah, I think I'm also generally in favor of this proposal. I think it's actually quite different than our Highland Avenue case in that the owners did not put this here existing, and there was no driveway in the front, or there was no garage in the front to begin with. This house was built with a garage in the front, and so it had already existed. It was not a matter of the owners doing that work. So it is, it's very different, I think, from that case. And since it has existed and will continue to exist, I think it makes sense, and we shouldn't burden the homeowners with this extra process.
Commissioner Berlin?
I'm also in support for the same reason that the family owned this property with the circular drive already on it, as opposed to driving. That said, I understand the city's recommendation not to approve it. Your job is to enforce the code to the letter, and I think you had to make the recommendations you make in this instance, so that makes total sense to me. The one thing I will flag, I think Commissioner Johnson makes a really good point about consistency. I don't know if fellow commissioners are going to agree with what I'm about to say, or staff, but I think as we think about demographics in this country and in our town and sort of the aging baby boomer population, like, I think we are going to see more cases where people are going to ask for exceptions because of accessibility to support older family members who are going to be living with them. And I think if there's a way we can think about this, it's a little separate than this case, but I mean, this is the second time in 2 months, and I think they're just going to keep coming. So this specific case, I also think it would be a burden on the homeowner, and because they didn't build this, they're just asking to be allowed to keep it. I totally agree. Steps need, like, if it's accessibility, it needs to be accessible all the way. Get rid of the pieces you can. But I don't see this as them, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, any other commissioners? Yes.
I'm in support of the project. The driveway was there. It hasn't been a burden for anybody until you basically decide that you're going to do any kind of update to your house. So it would have been at that point. It didn't really matter what project you were thinking of doing. And you're only asking to keep it, not to rebuild it. You only have a sidewalk on one street. The other is just a curb cut in some grass, which is probably a lot easier to try to access to cross the street to get over to your property from your neighbors as well. So I'm in support.
Yes, Commissioner Linwell.
I just wanted to say, I agree that it's important to maintain precedence, and I think that there is a substantial difference between this situation, where there are already 2 existing curb cuts, and the Highland Avenue case where there was no curb cut. And in fact, the city had already turned down the application to create a curb cut. So that's really, I mean, if they were proposing adding a new curb cut, I would agree with the staff interpretation, but these curb cuts already exist. And, it's totally unclear, exactly how it would be, if they were removed, what the city would do in terms of curb and gutter, for those access.
Yeah, I think in the previous case, the homeowners were saying, can we build something out of code? And I think here we have homeowners saying, to the extent that we're going to build, we are going to build something in code. We happen to have something out of code on our property, and we would just like to leave it alone. And I think that's a meaningful difference, actually.
Commissioner Magnum.
I'm in support of the addition or changing the garage around. I am a little bit, I guess, torn on the whole driveway thing because it does remind me of the Highland case that we had before. So I'm listening to, other commissioners. I'm looking at the list, we heard from the commenters. So we'll see.
Okay, I'll give my thoughts. I think that sounds like everybody's pretty much on the same page about the setback, and nobody's gonna be losing sleep about less than a foot to try to maintain continuity with the streetscape. On the driveway, I'm very sympathetic to the policy of trying to minimize curb cuts in the city. I am a believer that the intent of that, the zoning ordinance do that in order to protect pedestrian safety and improve traffic flow and increase open space in people's front yards is the right policy, and that's the why Evanston has it. But I also agree that this was created not through no fault of the owner. It was done before the advent and the adoption of the code, and they're not looking to exaggerate that in a meaningful way. I am interested what commissioners might think about a compromise. At least my perspective is that I'm less bothered by the driveway itself, seeing as it is a pre-existing situation, but the curb cuts are still bothering me a little bit, and I'm curious if people are interested in entertaining a compromise to simply keep the driveway as is, but to eliminate the curb cut on the south side on Harrison. That would restrict the owner from driving all the way through the driveway, but it would still largely preserve the driveway for access like they want, but also but improving the streetscape on Harrison by eliminating the curb cut.
I am not in favor of that because I think the circulation, you'd be, pulling in and then you'd have to back out, so I think that it's better to maintain both curb cuts in the existing condition. That's my thought.
I agree. 'Cause
I agree.
You're creating now a worse condition of trying to back up. Not everybody's good at driving.
Is the plan, I'm sorry, this is a question for the homeowners, is the plan to get rid of the strip that goes to what is currently the non-functional? So you will literally have the, yeah. Yeah, I also think they should keep both curb cuts.
Okay, no sympathy on that idea. Okay, fine. All right, any more comments then? Okay, with that, I will move to reading the standards for approval. And I've been in some discussion with staff about how to procedurally do this, maybe a little more expediently and not duplicate what's already been stated in the packet based on what staff has written in on their perspective or on the recommendations for the standards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each standard, and for the ones where I'm going to describe what I'm hearing as the consensus of this body, I will state that that might already be in conformance with what the staff has recommended, but if not, I'll note that it's different. And then after each standard, if you disagree with my assessment, I will pause, and then you can state your disagreement. Okay, so standards for approval. And just actually, before I start that, there weren't any recommended conditions, were there?
Not for this case, there weren't.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, the requested variation will not have a substantial adverse impact on the use, enjoyment, or property values of adjoining properties. That has been determined to be true. So that's met. The requested variation, pause. The requested variation is in keeping with the intent of the zoning ordinance. We've heard that, unlike what's written in the packet, we've heard tonight that the intent is intent to maintain consistency and to not overly burden applicants that were subject to a condition prior to the existence of the code.
Yeah, you disagree.
Mr. Chair, just like a point of order, do you want me to verbalize after each one of these?
Yes.
Okay, got
yes.
it. Okay, so for number two, I do. I'll keep it brief. I agree with what staff said that the relief for open parking is not consistent with the intent of the zoning ordinance. Vehicular access should be off the alley. That's possible here. We should prevent numerous curb cuts. That's what I would prefer to have happen. And we should minimize pedestrian vehicle conflicts. And if we remove this driveway and have them access their new garage from the alley, it will achieve those things.
Thank you. Number 3, the alleged hardship or practical difficulty is peculiar to the property. Staff has noted a yes and a no. I'm going to say that the consensus of this body is that the second point is actually yes, that this practical difficulty is peculiar to the property due to pre-existing conditions that were that occurred prior to the adoption of the code.
And I agree with staff on this one. With there is no practical difficulty in my perspective that's peculiar to the property because there is the ability that there's the space and the access to move the garage access to the backyard, which is what they're endeavoring to do here. And it's not as if this lot is shaped in such a way that you can't do that, and it's not laid out in such a way that they can't access the alley from their new garage.
Thank you. Number 4, the property owner would suffer a particular hardship or practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were to be carried out. Staff has given a yes and a no. I'm going to say that the consensus of this body on the second one is yes, that it is a particular hardship due to the pre-existing condition.
Yeah, and then just also the costs that would be involved with actually removing the driveway.
And consensus accept me on this one. But I agree with staff in some that I am hearing about cost, and I am hearing about the particular demographics of the people that plan to live in the building and currently live in the building. But I think that's outside of our scope to think about as far as the layout of the lot, the size of the lot, where the access to the lot is. And so there is no practical hardship or difficulty in my mind. What they are asking for is something to make their current family situation more convenient rather than following the letter of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Number 5, the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively on a desire to extract additional income from the property. Does that go to the next? Or the public benefits to the surrounding neighborhood and the city as a whole will be derived from approval of the variation that include but are not limited to any of the standards in section 6363 of this chapter. Staff has indicated yes and yes, and I'm going to say the consensus of this body is to agree with that the intent is to allow family members to age in place and is not income related. Number 6, the alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property. Staff has determined yes and no. I will say that the consensus of this body for the second one is yes, and that they have not created this pre-existing condition. It was there probably when they bought it. Yeah.
And it's my opinion that this this condition, or sorry, this standard is not met. In agreement with staff's recommendation here that there is a legally non-conforming driveway there, and their project proposes to create a non-compliant open parking space that doesn't currently exist.
Thank you. And finally, number 7, the requested variation requires the least deviation from the applicable regulation among the feasible options identified before the Land Use Commission issues its decision or recommendation to the City Council regarding said variation. That's a mouthful. Staff has indicated yes and no. And although it would seem that the driveway would clearly be an egregious, not be the least deviation. In this case, the consensus I'm hearing is that it's appropriate to have a perspective of leniency in this case to require the least amount of additional modification and work to the driveway.
And for number 7, for the second variance, I agree with staff and say other alternatives could accommodate the accessibility and mobility needs. I mean, namely, there hasn't been any exploration, to my knowledge, of with the new modern two-bay garage in the back, access from the alley. There hasn't been discussion about from their architect about how to make access, how to improve ease of access from that new detached parking garage into the house. I mean, this is a major renovation and expansion project, and I would have liked to have more serious, examination of alternatives that don't require such a significant variance.
Thank you. Okay, those are all the standards. Maybe ready to make a proposal. So at this point, I'd like to request I'll entertain a motion for approval of the requested variances. We make motions in the positive here so that it's all clear what we're voting on. So if you vote yes or no, you're going either against or for a positive motion. Commissioner Linwall.
I would suggest we actually break this into two motions, because I think the one for the park, it'll be quick, I think.
Okay.
With respect to the major variation request for the front yard setback for 2500 Marcy Avenue, 26 ZMJV-0001. I recommend approval.
I second.
Okay.
Moved by Linwall and seconded by Berlin. Ms. Jones, can we please have a vote?
Commissioner Aravallo,
Yes.
Commissioner Berlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris-Furry,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
And this is just for the setback portion?
Just
Yes.
the setback.
Commissioner Mangum,
Yes.
Commissioner Beninchev,
Yes.
Commissioner Linwall,
Yes.
Chair PUCHTEL.
Yes. So that is 8 in favor, 0 against. That passes.
Okay. With respect to the major variation request for 25, for the open parking in the front yard for 2500 Marcy Avenue, case 26 ZMJV-0001, I recommend approval of the variation.
Second.
Moved by Linwall, seconded by Berlin. And I just want to clarify that although you use the language recommend, we are the
Yes.
we are the determining body
We approve.
for this
Okay.
case.
Yes, we would approve.
Ms. Jones, can we please have a vote?
Commissioner Aravallo,
Yes.
Commissioner Berlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris-Furry,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Mangum,
No.
Commissioner Beninchev,
Yes.
Commissioner Linwall,
Yes.
Chair PUCHTEL.
Yes. So with a vote of 6-2, that motion also passes. So congratulations. You can follow up with city staff for next steps, and good luck with the rest of your case. At this point, we're going to take a break for 10 minutes, and when we come back, we will have case 1103, 1105 Emerson Street. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We'll now move on to our next case. Is this Jeremiah, you again? Or Sam? Great, can you please read it into the record?
Yes. Walter Maton, applicant of PM Properties LLC, requests major variations to allow construction of a 5-story multifamily residential building with a total of 30 dwelling units, including 6 bonus units per the inclusionary housing ordinance, and 9 parking stalls, 4 of which would be on-site, 5 of which would be leased off-site, all in the R6 General Residential District. The applicant requests approval of 3 major variations. Number 1, Section 6-8-8-4C to allow 24 dwelling units, including a minimum of 10% on-site inclusionary units, and 6 bonus dwelling units for a total of 30 dwelling units, where a maximum of 12 dwelling units are allowed. Number 2, Section 6-16-3-1, Table 16-B, to allow a total of 9 off-street parking spaces, 4 on-site and 5 off-site, where a total of 30 parking spaces are required. And number 3, Section 6-4-6-3A1, to allow an accessory use to cover 60% of a rear yard where accessory uses are restricted to no more than 40% coverage. The applicant may seek and the Land Use Commission may consider additional variations as may be necessary or desirable for the proposed development. The Land Use Commission makes a recommendation to the City Council, the determining body for this case. Staff is recommending approval of the application subject to 11 conditions of approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we have the applicant come up, I just want to note for everybody that we are requesting, we are anticipating a request for a continuance for this case to March 25th for next month, which is something that we will be obligated to grant. So we still plan this evening to hear from the applicant to make their proposal and also honor everybody's all the efforts everybody made to come out this evening and still give public testimony. So that will happen as well. But then what I anticipate will happen is then we will hear the request for a continuance that'll be granted, and then the rest of the case for that particular person making the request and commission deliberations will all occur on March 25th to conclude this case.
1 point,
Yes.
Chair. The commission is obligated to grant a continuance, the date of which is up to the commission to determine.
Thank you for clarifying. Okay, with that, is the applicant ready to describe their case?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Katerina Carrick, and I'm the attorney for the applicant. Just a little bit about this proposal. We are requesting a major variation request for the property 1103, 1105 Emerson Street to allow for a housing redevelopment project in the R6 General Residential District, a high-density area near downtown Evanston. This proposal delivers 30 non-luxury missing middle residential units, including inclusionary housing, in a transit-oriented location, while remaining below the maximum permitted height and incorporating design refinements to reduce massing impacts. Just a little bit about the proposal, and then we'll get into the presentation. The proposed redevelopment includes a 30-unit residential building with 6 units per floor. The unit mix consists of 12 one-bedroom units, 9 two-bedroom units, and 9 three-bedroom units, providing family-sized housing options. 3 inclusionary housing units will provide 40 AMI, will be provided at 40% AMI, including 1 one-bedroom, 1 two-bedroom, and 1 three-bedroom unit. And they're not seeking, the applicant is not seeking any tax reliefs on this project. Also, this will be the first market rate project with 40% AMI IHO compliance in Evanston. The project, we'll get into the details, but just for kind of to give you the big picture, it includes a rooftop amenity deck, green roof planters, solar panels, all electric building systems, and with an electric heat pump. Parking will be provided through a combination of 4 on-site spaces, including 1 ADA compliant space and short-term parking, and 6 off-site lease spaces in a nearby city garage. Oh, okay. It's okay. The applicant is PM Properties LLC, owned by brother and sister duo Nada Popovich and her brother Walter Matan. The lead architect is Robert Friedman. The landscape architecture is by Kettle Camp and Kettle Camp, and the development advisor is Melissa Klotz. The owners are small local landlords with 6 buildings in the area. They are Those buildings are noted on the slide here. And this is their family legacy project. They're not big developers. This is something that they have a passion for and as part of their legacy want to leave behind. The subject property consists of two structures, two flat, one is a 2-flat and one is a 4-flat. At least one of them is more than 100 years old. They're both nearing the end of their natural life and will have to be torn down in the near future. One of the buildings was moved from another location to this site. It is not on real foundation, it's on brick piers, and it will need new foundation put in the immediate future. To the west of the property is Ebenezer AME Church. To the east, we have residential buildings, and immediately to the east is residential, and then further east you have higher density residential, and right across the street on Emerson, we also have high density residential. There has been significant community outreach and review through design review. The project team has engaged in community outreach since April of 2025, and they have incorporated significant feedback from Design Evanston. Design revisions include reduced perceived massing, elimination of balcony wing walls, added stairwell windows, modified materials, and low-maintenance natural landscaping. These changes respond directly to the community and design review feedback. And just a quick note on that, we understand that there has been a continuance request presented to the board by the adjacent property owner. We're welcoming the opportunity to speak with the owner and incorporate further feedback from the adjacent owner. I understand that she is here, but I would love to have an opportunity to discuss this project with her directly. The project includes non-luxury units. Evanston needs more housing. There is a housing crisis in Evanston and beyond. And it is not just something to be looked over, it's a moral crisis not to build more housing as soon as possible. And not just luxury housing, but true middle income resident housing, as well as affordable housing. Larger unit sized apartments will be available for families, 2 and 3 bedroom units. The IHO units are offered at lowered AMI. Thoughtful design and materials are incorporated. Sustainability measures have been implemented into the design, and it is transit-oriented development. You can see here what the initial proposal looked like on the left, and on the right, what the current proposal looks like. The proposal is supported by Design Evanston from November 2025 to the current design. They have eliminated balcony wing walls to reduce massing. They've reduced bricks and added EIFS, exterior insulation and finishing systems, which are more lightweight, synthetic, non-load bearing exterior cladding systems that provide superior energy efficiency. They've added windows along the stairwell, extended all stairwells and elevator to the rooftop deck amenity, and they've added a cooking station to the rooftop deck and incorporated low maintenance natural landscaping in lieu of a traditional mowed lawn. This is the site plan, and again, 30 dwelling units. It's going to be 6 apartments per floor, 12 one-bedroom units, 9 two-bedroom, and 9 three-bedroom. The total square footage is approximately 32,490 square feet. IHO units, again, 3 in total. One is 1 bedroom, another 2, and another 3-bedroom unit. No property tax relief is being sought. I think that's a very positive thing. First market rate project, again, at 40% AMI IHO compliance. Typically, these are at 60%, and this is setting a precedent here in Evanston. The landscaping will be, let me just get to that. These are the floor plans to give you a sense of the layout. I believe it's also included in the materials for your review this evening. I'll go back a little bit. The landscaping is hardy, low maintenance. Let me see. Hardy, low maintenance, no mow landscaping. This is all from design. Evanston review. The green roof, there will be green roof planters for parking on-site 4 spaces, 1 ADA, 3 short-term parking, and off-site they will have 6 leased spaces in the city garage. Floor plans. On the first floor, there will be 4 one-bedroom units, 1 two-bedroom units, 1 3-bedroom unit for a total of 6. And then floors 2 through 5 will all have 2 one-bedroom, 2 two-bedroom, and 2 3-bedroom for a total of 24 units. The rooftop plan has an elevator and stair access, outdoor seating, and a grill area, green roof planters, hardy hydrangeas, low maintenance. Mechanical equipment will be there, solar panel, electric, heat pump. These are the building elevations, the front and rear on the left side, and you can see the side elevations on the right. Additional renderings are depicted here. Modular, the building will incorporate modular face brick, beige aluminum, EIFS, drive-it, amberstone, limestone cupping, aluminum clad windows, and steel railings. The landscape plan, again, just to give you an idea, red maple, witch hazel leaves, red shenandoah, yew hedges, purple sensation, prairie dropseed. There are 3 variations that are requested as part of the application before you. The first one is a density variation to allow 30 dwelling units where 12.5 units would otherwise be permitted. The second is a parking variation to allow 10 parking spaces in lieu of the 30 spaces that would otherwise be required. And the third one is for a rear yard coverage variation to allow 60% hardscape coverage to accommodate parking and mechanical equipment in the back. The variations directly align with the community and city goals and prioritizes the goals outlined in Envision Evanston, in the Envision Evanston plan. As far as the community consideration and public benefits, the project does provide meaningful public benefits, including new moderate-priced housing, 3 inclusionary housing units at 40% AMI, increased property tax base by about $170,000 annually, and enhanced support for downtown businesses. There's no tax breaks, which could technically lower the taxes by $68,000 per year for 30 years. And there's also a $60,000 tear down fee that is going towards affordable housing fund. Additional sustainability measures based on the feedback received are being implemented, including an all-electric building, rooftop solars, green roof elements, and reduced vehicle dependency through transit-oriented design. Also, there will be an indoor bicycle access room. Standards of approval and findings of fact. So the variation will not cause a substantial adverse impact on the surrounding property since the development is appropriately scaled and does not maximize the allowed 85-foot height, which would be 97 feet with the IHO bonus. And it also limits on-site vehicles and incorporates building design, thoughtful building design without balconies, along with smaller interior side yards. The project is in keeping with the intent of the zoning ordinance and Envision Evanston, which is to add quality housing that is appropriate to the character of the neighborhood and its future. The hardship is existing with the property size, the age structures, and limited use of those structures as they currently exist. In order to replace the structures at today's standards, more units are needed to cover the additional costs of new construction with sustainability measures while keeping the rent rate at as moderate as possible. While the project initially intended to provide moderate public benefits, the project has already incurred significant time and cost adjustments that no longer allow for such benefits. The variations are needed to make the project solvent and gain financial financing with the additional sustainability and affordable housing costs required by Evanston in conjunction with the extended development period and rising project costs. Additional public benefits would essentially raise the rent pricing. The hardship is not self-created, since the smaller lot size that limits the density and parking in the high-density R6 district was established at least 33 years ago, far before the current ownership. Alternatives have been considered, including a rooming house iteration, and based on our team's conversation with staff, it is not feasible due to staff interpretation of the code. Also, larger luxury units were considered for the site that would maximize all zoning requirements, including height. And neither of these other iterations were really in line with the surrounding area. And so keeping the height at a lower, the building height, reducing the building height and keeping it more in line with the surrounding area was really the best option here for this site. And I understand there is a request for a continuance. Again, I would love the opportunity to speak with the adjacent neighbor, incorporate any feedback that she may have. We put a lot of thought into this, and we want to bring something to the community that the community is proud of. And so that is a conversation that we're happy to have. But in conclusion, for the purposes of this hearing tonight, for the reasons stated, the applicant is respectfully requesting that the Land Use Commission recommend approval, and that we believe the proposal represents responsible development, and it aligns with the city policy goals, the neighborhood context, and also the long-term housing goals for Evanston. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Berlin?
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for walking us through the project. The one area I expected just a little more detail, which is why I have a question, is, I love the idea of sort of more moderately priced housing. It's not going to be luxury housing. And I understand that the economics force certain rents, but I'm curious to know what sort of rent levels do you mean when you say that it's not going to be luxury housing and that it's going to be more kind of missing middle moderate housing?
Yeah, so it's the finishes that you would expect with like luxury housing are not going to be there. There's going to be they're going to provide for. Oh, okay, go right ahead.
I can jump in on this. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Melissa Klotz. Thank you, commissioners. The general goal is that the project must be priced lower than E2 across the street. It is not intended to compete with that. It is also not intended to compete with the Link or any other high rises in the area. It is intended to be similar to what the existing neighborhood currently has.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Miranchov.
I understood that your architect is present.
Correct.
Can I ask him questions?
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
I have a question about, it's not about the variances. I usually ask questions about architecture when there is a little bit of a problem. You have, in many of the apartments, you have studies that are completely without windows.
Yes.
Is there a reason for that, or let's say owner requested?
There wasn't enough outside wall for that, so we couldn't have bedrooms. So we create studies for the students that may be living there.
Did you try to use the corners?
Yes.
Okay, and it didn't work. Okay, I'm asking the question because usually what happens later in the project, these studies are converted to bedrooms, and you don't have egress.
And then we have what?
You don't have egress.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have escape windows. So this is usually a problem, just architecturally. Second question, the design Emerson, I believe they made a note about the materials. You have, can you go to the materials page? Yes. Your brick selection in the material sheet is completely different from what we see on the renderings. Which one is correct?
Well, it's, the shade's a little different. I don't would say completely different. It's a reddish brown brick.
Well, the renderings seem really dark. While your selection of brick on the material page, top left, is
a little more reddish brown.
It's reddish brown, and I see that you have different type of brick. I don't see the second one. My question and my inclination is to make you think a little bit about the selection of materials so that you make this building a little bit more attractive, lighter. You know, colors also contribute to the building not looking bulky.
Looking what?
Bulky.
Bulky.
So that's why I'm asking all these questions. And my third question is about the balconies. So you made the changes with the balconies on the front elevation, on the front facade, but I believe on the back, I still saw somewhere in one of the renderings that you keep the side walls of the balconies. Is that correct, or they are removed?
Remove the balconies from
The
all units.
start, yes, the side walls of the balconies are removed from everywhere, correct?
We removed the balconies from all
You
units.
still have balconies on
except the front.
Except the front?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Thank you.
More questions from commissioners? Commissioner Linwall?
Sure. I have a question about parking, actually. The application somewhere in there, it said that the applicant owns other properties in the immediate area, and I think you showed it on one of the slides. What's the parking experience been with respect to the need for parking? And in your presentation, you were talking about 10 spaces, so 6 leased, which is consistent with the condition that was recommended by staff as opposed to the 5 spaces that were in the original application. And I would like to kind of understand how, if the applicant is leasing, the property owner is leasing the spaces, how do they get allocated? And, does the tenant pay? And frankly, if the spaces are available in city garages, are parking spaces really necessary as part of this application?
Yeah, thank you for that. So we have not completely fleshed out how the spaces in the garage will be allocated yet. They will be tenant assigned. Which tenants get them and what the terms are of that arrangement are still to be figured out. But the idea is to provide enough space, enough parking spaces, considering the location, the high density location, the fact that there's, I think, the two different buses that are the Davis Street CTA bus, and then there's also a Davis Metro station within 0.3 miles. It's a highly walkable area, and they're going to have the bicycle room as well. There is on-street parking, but they're committed to not using the street parking for their tenants. So that, I wish I had a better answer for you, but with regard to the parts, the garage, they're still, they're going to figure out how to allocate that.
So basically, you're assuming that it's important for the building to have spaces in the garage that they can allocate to a tenant? I'm just trying to, I know that this is a typical thing that happens especially in the downtown area where spaces are leased in garages, and I'm just, as we move forward with kind of right-sizing parking requirements and the like, the question is, what's the appropriate, why?
We anticipate the parking garage spaces will not be used. Based on the other properties that the owners have in the same neighborhood, though their on-site parking spaces are generally not used by their tenants. They go either unleased or they end up being leased to other people within the neighborhood who don't live on site. So this is purely to meet the standard to be able to get the project approved, and in reality, there will likely not be cars parking in there. So one hopeful suggestion that we do have is that there could be a condition of approval that allows further reduction of parking if the state of Illinois chooses to do so, which is on the horizon.
Why is it that those on-site spaces typically aren't used?
My best guess is that because the properties are at least 50% student housing, that there is just less vehicles being used by the tenants, and given that it is a substantial TOD area.
So basically, the suggestion of either the 5 or the 6 lease spaces is simply to accommodate what, staff recommendation or past practice or
Past precedent with a parking ratio.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, like the parking spaces in the back, there's 188 and 3 will be short-term parking. So it's for move-in, move-out, loading groceries, things like that. And I think it's just in line with what is past precedent to have some parking provided. But it seems like the region is generally moving in a different direction. So in the future, who knows if we will be having these discussions about what is the appropriate parking ratio.
Yes, Mr. Hubbard?
One point to consider, and we did think about the other developments that the applicant has, but this development in requesting a parking variation, the residents will be prohibited from obtaining street parking passes. And the other developments that the developer has, I don't believe that restriction applies to them. So while they may not want to lease spaces within those developments, they're free to lease on-street parking spaces, which may artificially reduce the on-site demand at those buildings. Here it would be different. These buildings, this building would be prohibited from residents leasing on-street parking spaces because of the variation they're requesting. So I just wanted to make that point clear.
But could the lease spaces, could the required parking be, accommodated on the on-site parking for some of these other developments in the area? I know they're proposing leasing from city or someone, but how would that work?
Yeah, so they could lease from other facilities in the nearby area. If they're within 1,000 feet, they could meet the parking requirements from the city. They're not going to meet the 30 parking spaces, so they're requesting the variation. They're requesting to go down to 9 parking spaces total, which was well below, or was the lowest that we've seen recently. And so we were comfortable with the condition of approval to request at least 10 spaces, 6 off-site, 4 on-site.
But if the applicant, the owner, has buildings within the 1,000 feet and you've got 6 off-street parking spaces, he could potentially lease those spaces to meet the parking requirement?
If those other buildings are within the 1,000-foot radius, and if those other buildings have a surplus of parking from a code standpoint, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
but I don't know if they have a surplus or
Yeah,
not.
but you know, if the other buildings are, you know, eligible for the parking permits, you know, it's, you know, they may choose to, you know, the tenants may choose to go that route rather than lease from the applicant. We don't have any way of controlling that, do we?
Well, it's more from a code standpoint. So if a neighboring building that the applicant owns has 6 on-site parking spaces, and they're required by code to have 6 on-site parking spaces,
And you can't count those.
then you can't lease those because those are required for that building. Now, maybe the residents there only lease 4 of those spaces because 2 of them lease on-street parking spaces. Practically, sure, it would make sense, but from a code standpoint, no, it doesn't.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Berlin.
This is just a question for staff, and it's really just a point of clarification for me to understand, because I was under the impression that Governor Pritzker had already signed legislation zeroing out parking minimums if you were, you know, that's a quarter mile of public transit. So I guess, one, has that not gone into effect, or has it gone into effect, but as the city of Evanston, we have the autonomy to create a parking overlay? Or I just want to understand how this is happening.
Sure, it's a great question. It's been signed into law, but it has not taken effect. It's not until, I believe, July of this year when it would be effective.
Okay, thank you.
But it would be in effect by the time the building was actually built and occupied.
Yes, although it would not apply to developments that have previously been approved.
Yeah.
Can I ask just a follow-up question to that? Is this,
Commissioner Johnson,
is this building within the buffer to be applicable to the new state law? Because this is not a TOD project because it's not close enough. I mean, we've heard that it's TOD in character, but in the packet, we've been informed that this is not a TOD project. So will the new erasure of parking minima apply to this address?
So from an Evanston TOD standpoint, the way the regulations are currently written, you're correct. No, it does not meet, it doesn't qualify as a TOD property. Would it meet the state's People Over Parking Act TOD standards? I believe so, but we're still in the process of mapping out those officially. So I can't say for certain, but I do believe it would meet those standards.
Okay, thank you.
And that's our interpretation as well.
questions from other commissioners? Okay, I guess my question is the packet outlines many conditions, 11 of them. Is your client in agreement and prepared to accept all of those?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, seeing no more questions from commissioners, we can move to public testimony. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a list of people who signed up to speak tonight. Is it helpful to hear the continuous request first? Okay, yeah, let's do that then. So I have Tina Patton.
Good evening. My name is Tina Payton.
Sorry.
Okay. And I'm asking for continuance in this case for 1103 through 1105 Emerson Street. I own and live at 1122 Emerson Street. My family has been there since 1915, 111 years. I also own a property at 1029 Emerson Street, just east of the proposed development. I also own 1025 through 27 Emerson Street, which is right next door. And I also own 1025.5 Emerson Street, which is next door to that. We've owned those properties since 1984, for 42 years. I would like the continuance so I can gather evidence in support of my objection to this proposal. I'm asking for until the 25th of next month, as I've gotten one letter from the applicant and this card. Not discussed anything, and this is kind of the first time I'm seeing anything. And I need a little more time so I can gather this information. And I've also was sick in the hospital for most of the summer, so I was not privy to any of this and have not heard anything from the applicant. So I'm requesting the continuance till March 25th in order to give me some time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we address the continuance request now or wait until the end of the testimony?
To me, it would make sense to wait until the end of public comment.
Okay.
Do it then.
Okay, thank you. All right, in that case, I will move down my list of people who have signed up to speak tonight. Next is Reverend Deborah Scott. And then following them will be Carla Cooper Dudley.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Deborah Scott from Ebenezer AME Church, located at 1109 Emerson. So I'm here this evening. I have had a discussion with the Patel family. In our discussions, we were concerned about the community benefits, affordable units, the green space, parking, also, as you mentioned about the materials used, we wanted it to be compatible with the buildings that already exist. But I guess on this evening, they have been current owners of the property, and so we understood the fact that they wanted to do redevelopment. And since they had to tear it down, they wanted to build something new, something different. So if the project is to go forward, we did just want to have some kind of conditions because we have to be concerned about our church during the construction. One of the things that we were concerned about when the drilling, the construction, the noise, the vibration that it caused. Right now, because we have a historical building, right now when the buses and trucks go by, the church vibrates. So we are concerned about, our windows, our stained glass windows. So is there something going to be put in place that would address the noise and the vibration? We also have funeral services during the day. So we would have to have some kind of agreement or something, maybe for that 2-hour period that we're having the service. Maybe they take a lunch break or something, I don't know. Secondly, we were concerned about, and we talked to them about, we're sure they're going to have to use our parking lot because it's adjacent to this building. So as they're putting and building this building, we wanted to make sure about the storm drainage, the water flow. We want to make sure that it is directed towards the city, towards the street, versus coming directly across to the church. Right now, we can get some flooding if there's heavy rain. So that is a concern. Is that going to be addressed in the plan, the infrastructure that they'll put in for the water and storm drainage? We're not sure what might happen, but it's my understanding that when you start drilling and opening up concrete and doing all that kind of good stuff, that's when our little underground friends, the rodents, come out. And so we'd like to know, is there going to be a rodent abatement plan put in place? I believe those were our main, and just our parking lot, that's going to be another issue, I think. We don't know how much usage or damage might take place because they're going to have to put their equipment and all of that on there while they're building. So we're just concerned if there's a need, what can be done to make sure we still have a usable parking lot. Okay. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Carla Cooper Dudley, and then after that will be Mitchell Smith.
I was going to yield my time to Pastor Scott, but she finished.
Okay. Then Mitchell Smith.
I was going to do the same.
Okay. Is it Justin Ulysses? Forgive me if I mispronounce.
Yeah, good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Justin Ulysses. I'm a current resident at 1103 Emerson, and I'm here to strongly support the application. And I hope that the Commission, in their, I hope the Commission at some point consider the application as it is and goes ahead and actually approves it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, forgive me. Kehinde Nigwa? Is there anybody else here that's signed up to speak or expecting to speak this evening that hasn't?
Mr. Giles.
Yes, let's go now. Thank you.
Priscilla Giles.
I'm sorry, I spoke earlier, and I still have the same thing to say, and that I spoke some time ago, some years ago.
Can you just, for the record, say your name and address?
My name is Priscilla Giles in Fifth Ward. I spoke some years ago about this same project, I guess I'll call that, and I said that that should not happen in a church that is a landmark that has been an African-American church for over 100 years now. And it was probably at that time then even. I don't think that anything should be built that resembles that at all, no matter what they're putting there. I don't want to say that just to take that down, but it's not in keeping with the neighborhood. It's not in, and there is parking across the alley from the church that's always in use that I see. There's parking on the street, and this would be more parking. But it shouldn't be there, period. The church is there. If the Patels want to do something to help, then there are some houses there that they mentioned that could be that they could fix. They could do the fix for those houses and keep the same parking. There are 3 buildings on Wesley, and I believe they're owned by the city, but they're Wesley and a dead end of Wesley near Foster. Those buildings that's a project for them. If they want to give housing for the people who need them, desperately need them, that is something that they can do. I don't see why they would choose to come to a neighborhood and take away housing that is already there without doing something to place it. If you take something away, you should put something back in it. It just does not belong there next to a church that is that old. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else in person that was expecting to speak tonight? Anybody online? Yeah, Commissioner Berlin?
Can I ask a question about something I heard in public comment? Or is that kind of out of the order?
Yeah, I prefer not.
Okay.
We can still discuss something. Well,
It's fine. It's fine. I can do my own research. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay. In that case, let's address. Sir, do you want to speak?
Is it appropriate to ask a question?
You can give testimony if you want to come up.
It's not coming. Oh. I would like to speak if I can.
Just
All right, one moment. The person speaking online, just hold tight. We'll get to you. Just state your name and address for the record.
Smith, 1109 Emerson Street. Just a point of clarification. Is the continuance already set?
Not yet.
Understood. So I would just like to say that I'm in support of the continuance so we have more time to go over the ramifications of this project on our street and on our church in detail. Some of our yielding was based on your earlier comments. We assumed or thought based on your earlier comments that the continuance was going to take place, so we figured that would give us the time to gather, put our heads together more and go over these details as a church body. So we're in support of the continuance. I am in support of the continuance. That's my message.
Right, but are you saying that you also want to add your voice to the continuance request so that you have time to come back later and give more testimony?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
All right.
Or for organizational standpoint, we would need a contact information for somebody from the church, since that's a separate body from the first person who requested that. So if we could get contact information, and then I think the complexity here is that it's based on the property owner who is within the notice boundary that is obligated to have the continuance requested.
But he said he lives at 1109. Do you live at the church at 1109? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So could we entertain another request from owners of the church?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, at the risk, I am not trying to be condescending, but I didn't know what a continuance was until we got one. So in case it's helpful, like, are you familiar with the difference between putting your name on the continuance and not, like what that right is or doesn't do for you, or it doesn't matter?
Please explain.
Okay, just in case. I mean, do you want to, someone else maybe should explain it?
Yeah, no problem. So the intent of a continuance is so residents, property owners, rather nearby that are within the noticing radius of the development project can hear the testimony that came before the commission tonight, and then provide evidence at a date certain in the future for that continuance request to provide as opposing arguments to the project. And so anybody who is granted a continuance tonight will be the only people that are allowed to present that testimony at the next, at the continued meeting.
Okay.
If I just may say something on the point of the continuance, we're happy to have a conversation if there are concerns about construction and talk through that aspect of the process with the neighbors. And same thing with the other adjacent neighbors. Sounds like she's had some health issues. We have left literature and have sent additional notifications to her,
Okay.
but we're happy to have these conversations to the extent that that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to get to the person online that was waiting to give testimony.
Yes, my name is Alice Akes, and I would just like to make sure that the board there considers the fact that it is a historic church and the construction would have a detrimental effect with the water. When there was construction with the property across the street, there was considerable damage to the church with the water line, not only the rodents, but the water, the foundation. So all that needs to be considered when we're going to do a project like that directly next door. So all that needs to be considered when they're going to be doing a building project. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that was planning to give testimony tonight, either in person or online? Okay. Jeremiah, what do we need procedurally to accept the second continuance request?
I think you should make a motion for, I guess you can combine both of them together since they are both within the noticing distance of the site. So one motion to approve. And then the commission also needs to be in agreement of what date you're going to schedule that for. As Sam stated, it's that decision is up to the commission. They're not obligated to go with any specific date. It just has to be a date certain.
May I just interrupt very quickly? For the second continuance request, sitting up here, it's kind of unclear whether the owner who is granted a right is actually making the continuance request. Somebody with a property right is also allowed to make a continuance request that may be granted at the commission's discretion, but that request should be made in writing. So I think just to be safe, having it made in writing would be a good idea.
Okay. So is there someone in the audience that actually represents the church? Yes. Yes.
And I know that March 24th was being requested. We will have some of our team members unavailable, including myself. So March
25th.
I'm sorry?
clear.
March 25th, excuse me. March 11th, if possible, would be a favored date by us, if that is possible.
Okay. All right, thank you. With that, I'm going to suggest that someone make a motion to continue this case to March 25th to give adequate time for the people making those requests to gather their information and come back.
I move that we have a continuance and revisit this on March 25th.
Second.
Okay, motion by Berlin, seconded by Mangum. Ms. Jones, can we have a vote?
Commissioner Aravallo?
Yes.
Commissioner Berlin?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris-Ferry? He had to leave.
She's absent.
Oh, sorry. Did not see. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Linwall?
Yes.
Commissioner Mabadi? Oops, sorry, he's not here. Commissioner Mangum?
Yes.
Commissioner Beninchev?
Yes.
Chair PUCHTEL?
Yes. So that is 7 in favor, none against. So with that, this case is continued to March 25th, and we will continue the case then. Thank you very much.
And then we do need to close the public comment portion.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, with that, we're closing public testimony.
With the exception of the continuance people.
Right. Thank you for clarifying. With that, the next item on our agenda is, where is that?
Communications.
Thank you. Communications from staff.
No communications other than we will have the commission reconvene on March 11th for a regular Land Use Commission meeting.
Thank you. Is there anyone here, and then we'll move to public comment. So is there anybody here looking to speak on any matter, not necessarily on the cases we heard tonight, but on something else? Anybody online? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.